Hello, it's Mike, the Watcher DM.
I gotcha.
Should we start all over again?
Yeah, fuck it.
It's Mike, Erudite DM, who is with the Watcher DM. My friend Gabriel is here with me today, and we're going to talk a little bit about Shadowdark. And we were kicking around some ideas and themes here. We've been talking recently, and Watcher was nice enough to run a gauntlet for me and a couple of other folks last week. And I made some follow-up notes afterwards because I'd made some comments about I'm not a huge fan of starting with a gauntlet, but I don't run lots of games with newbies. I don't run any convention games, that kind of thing. So I'm playing in some games. I'm with regulars, and I'm playing Shadowdark. So that can influence, I guess, how you think about gauntlets and things. But it was nice of him to run the game for me. Or for us, it wasn't just for me. And I did learn a lot. So what's up, Gabriel? What are you doing today?
Yeah, just running around I've got a Kickstarter going, so trying to wrap stuff up with that. A Privatized Little Hell is going on right now over on Kickstarter. It's a 5e adventure that we've been working on for a while.
Your video's a little blurry on my end. I'm sorry to butt in. I don't know. Maybe the connection, so we'll keep an eye on it and just make sure it's okay. I don't know if it looks.
Actually, I know what happened is I went and downloaded Cursed Scroll 4, realizing I hadn't downloaded it yet. And my Dropbox dutifully uploaded it to my server. So I'm sure the network went down for a moment. So hopefully it clears up.
Well, if you all just squint your eyes kind of out of focus, we'll look fine. So, yeah.
Okay, cool. But yeah, I think later today I'm going to be playing some Realms of Peril with my partner. So another old school game. Pretty different from Shadowdark, but it's got some of the same bones. I think some of the same spirit. So
I don't think I know that one. You want to tell us about it real quickly? I don't know it.
Yeah, sure. Realms of Peril is made by Spellsword Games, out of the Pacific Northwest. Zach Wolf, I think, is the author, and DC Stowe did a bunch of the art for it, maybe all of it. It kickstarted, I think, in 2021, and it's a D20 OSR game, but it kind of uses a Powered by the Apocalypse style of resolution. So instead of like the DM never rolls for anything, basically. So like, if a monster's coming at you, it's going to do what it's going to do, and you're rolling to avoid that fate. So that's kind of how you dodge or defend or whatever. And it's got a bunch of other mechanics to it that are kind of more narrative, I would argue. But it also has a bunch of kind of... It's kind of like the perfect marriage between Powered by the Apocalypse and the OSR, if I'm being honest. But It's got some really great tooling in there. A friend of mine, Lucas, started running a West Marches game just about a month ago, I think, maybe a little bit longer. And he chose that as the system. And I was like, well, I guess I'm learning a new system. So dove into that, and I've been having a great time with it. But to learn the system better, I decided I would also force my partner to play duet with me. So I've been running a game for him.
That was going to be my question. Was it just the two of you? Is it a duet game? And
yeah, I saw your video about duet recently with Tim Scott, right?
Yeah, I did. With Tim Shorts, yeah.
Tim Shorts, I'm sorry. I was excited to see it because I do a lot of duet with my partner, and I find the format is amazing for getting stuff done and getting through content. One of the hard things about being the nerd that I am is that I want all of them. I'm just like, oh, give me the Cyborg, great, Morkborg, great, Pirate Board, great. And I've got every flavor of candy on the shelf, and I can't eat it all at once. It's like you gotta find table time. And so having a very gracious, loving partner who is willing to sit down and throw dice with me and figure out some of these games has been amazing.
Yeah, I'm jealous. My wife is not a gamer. Now, she's great. She even went to the con with me in Dallas, but she didn't go to the con. She was at the hotel working and on a laptop doing stuff at the office, and did some exploring Dallas by herself. And I think she caught up with a friend, but she gives me lots of rope. But we've been married for like 400 years, so it just feels like she knows me, and I know her, and we do well. But we don't play role-playing games together.
Yeah, that's fair. I think the dungeon game is a harder sell. Like Alicia's not super into dungeon crawling and killing monsters and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like she likes OSR. She actually really liked Old School Essentials. We played The Lost City with a GM ran it for us at a local game store, and she was like, "Oh, this is so much fun!" You know, she loves exploring, and she likes the social and problem solving elements, but she's not a huge fan of gore and violence. So if she can find a non-combat solution, that's the perfect game for her. And so in a lot of ways, the OSR games have really spoke to her because they kind of thrive on that exploration.
Maybe
combat as a fail state.
Maybe one of these new flavors like Daggerheart or Vazen. Is it Vazen? I always say Vasen, and I'm corrected. I guess it's Vasen. But you know, the
one I haven't tried.
Type Victorian era mystery type RPGs might be. Sounds like that'd probably be something more up her alley.
Yeah, interesting. So you're saying Candela Obscura? Was that?
No. Daggerheart. Well, or Candela Obscura, I guess. I've never played it, but I kind of know the genre and where it falls.
I think that one falls under the more mystery kind of solving things genre stuff.
In a kind of a Jack the Ripper type setting.
Totally. Which is funny because I think she really couldn't care less about Victorian. And in fact, I think basically most of colonial British culture she finds pretty distasteful. So like anytime we end up in a kind of medieval pastiche, she's like, blah, she's over it. She likes fantasy and she wants to kind of explore like what's different about the world. Yeah. And so, anytime that it veers too hard into, historical stuff, she tends to get pretty like, okay, whatever.
Well, before we came out, we were talking a little bit about this. We were talking about Shadowdark specifically, but it applies to all gaming. And it's kind of, I've carried my live and let live kind of philosophy into gaming, which is we don't all have to like the same thing. Think of how boring it would be if we all did play just one game, right? Instead, we've got all these different games, and you can play that game lots of different ways. And I know there's lots of YouTube hot air expelled over, the right way to do this, the right way to do that. In today's world, people like to argue about things. I don't find that all that. I like to argue in a friendly way, but I don't want to get into who's right, who's wrong. And, it's just not that important. And we all do like different things, just like she does. We have different settings and themes and tropes that we find more interesting than others, I suppose.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. So like, I think there is a perception that people have gotten more argumentative and divisive as technology has improved. And I think the reality is that we were always this way. Technology just gave each of us a megaphone. So YouTube is like this because there's humans in it. Right, like gumming up the works and being argumentative about stuff and declaring loudly that anybody who doesn't believe what I believe is wrong, a perfectly normal human thing to do. And I think having, it's strange. So like as a creator, especially, I think having strong opinions about design and style and theme and what you're going for, I think it's important. Like you have to come in with something that is your take for you to really create something that's vibrant and that's going to attract attention and get people's heads into where you're headed. If you come out with something that's too kind of accommodating, you'll end up making something like D&D 2024, which is cool. It's an amazing game, but like there are a lot of people moving away from it because it does too many things for too many people and it doesn't really inspire that moment for them. So I think it's important to have that.
Yeah, you're right. I think to have a really strong game or a strong system or a strong adventure, even as a GM, you have to lean into an idea. You have to make a choice. That is strategy, right? Strategy is making a choice and throwing out lots of things and just honing it down to one clean, simple idea. The players are coming to play with you for 3 hours, maybe 4. They're not going to remember all this other stuff. You have to make it simple for them. You have to telegraph. They're having fun. It's maybe Saturday afternoon or Friday night. You know, they didn't come here to do calculus. You know,
this reminds me of you had made a video a couple of weeks ago. It was actually, I think, the video that spawned us even doing our show, where you were talking about GM agency.
Oh,
and I was like, oh yeah, obviously, like, you know, the GM should be having fun. Like that's a default. And but I found your case, the way that you were making it, I was like, well, that doesn't sound like how I experienced the game at all. And I was like, but the reality is like, I don't have any family who's asking me to run them 5th edition, right? Like I just don't have that. Like the games that I'm playing are the games where I've said, hey guys, I want to do you know, the A series using old school essentials. Who's in? You know, and a bunch of my friends will be like, nah, not for me. And I'll be like, great, you know, but like it doesn't matter to me because there's always 6 or 8 more people, you know, who are all like DMs and down to play. And so I you know, I find myself very fortunate, especially I think because of the creator thing. Like I've been doing Watcher DM for like 5 years now. And so I've kind of developed like just a community around me, you know, like physical, like local community of people that are excited about gaming. They're most of the time they're making their own games or they're making their own game products. I've become friends with like some other creators that are local. And so my opportunity is to play kind of everything and try a bunch of different stuff has just been completely blown open. It's been kind of a revolution for me. Like I've really been just steeped in it.
You're lucky,
but I don't have that problem, right? Where like I don't have to worry about telling somebody I don't want to play that, I don't want to run that for you. I just like, oh no, yeah, I don't, you know, not for me, and they'll bug somebody else, and somebody else will do it, you know. So
yeah, I think it's important that we remember other people have different paths and different ways of playing and different interests and all that. And even within your regular group, I think I talked about this on the other video, is, you know, hey, just compromise. If I don't have to, you know, I play with a regular group of guys. We play on Monday night. You mentioned Tim Shorts and some of the others. You know, if one of them wants to run things for a while and try something one way, we all give each other enough rope to go do that. You know, not 60 feet, but enough rope to run with it. That was terrible. I'll edit that out later.
Woof.
No, I won't, because I don't know how to edit very well. So it'll stay.
That's fair.
But you know, just be a good mensch, be a good human. You know, give people, hey, I'll play your game for a while and try it out, and it may not be my favorite thing, but that's okay. We're all together and we're hanging out on, you know, Monday night having fun. It's Monday night. What else am I going to do?
Totally.
So
yeah. That's another thing actually that kind of caught me too, right? Is like, so there's been a lot of instances where I've had people present me with games that I wouldn't count myself as being a default for. You know, it's not my genre, or it's not my default, it's not my go-to. But it is, I think it benefits the game and myself to set aside a lot of my preferences when I'm trying something new for the first time. You know, to your credit, like you came into that Gauntlet experience with fresh eyes and a fresh experience and just kind of took it for what it was. And, you know, I think we had a good time at the table. Like we delivered some good dice rolls and got some characters out of that pit.
Yeah.
And, you know, having the right attitude going into the game is maybe the most critical part of being a player. Like in terms of the social contract, right? Coming to the table with, I'm here to have fun with these people, be they friends or strangers, is kind of the vital component that makes you a player and not an asshole, right?
Well, I feel like the best and the worst thing that ever happened to gaming was, the best thing was COVID. That sounds horrible, but you know, COVID, Stranger Things, a couple of reasons that gaming took off. We all had this time again. We started playing. That turned out to be a good thing for gaming. The bad thing is because of the rapid growth of VTTs and online gaming, there is this whole thing now where you drop into a game and don't know anybody, but you've signed up to play, and it's just a group of strangers. And people go in selfishly with their own agenda, and they don't give the other strangers a chance. It might be a new GM. You know, the GM may not be explaining it well. There's so many things that can go wrong that you hear nightmares of people going in and out. I don't play those kind of games. If I go into a game other than your game, you know, you said, hey, I've got some friends who want to play. That was good enough for me. But I don't get on to random games like on Start Playing and go in with a bunch of strangers. I've been fortunate in the games I do play. we tend to make friends with people. I'm playing like Black Sword Hack every other
God, I
week.
want to play that so bad.
Yeah,
My buddy Dave wants to play it too. He's
if
like,
you're a Michael Moorcock Elric fan, it's like, okay, I got my curses, I got my law, I got my chaos, and now I got to make decisions about which way I'm going, or am I stuck in the middle? And you feel like Elric, and that's kind of cool.
Sounds awesome.
So a different kind of game, but and I know we're talking about lots of things here. I want to make sure before we get too far along, and I want to talk about your background and some of the things you do, because I was blown away when I went to your website. On the Shadowdark note, you and I think, both backed Western Reaches. We've received our stuff, right? And we've looked at the 4th Cursed Scroll, which is the jungle setting called River of Night. I know I'd like to talk about it at some point. I don't feel I'm ready yet. I've only done like a skim through. How about you? Where are you with River of Night?
Well, so we're working on a Shadowdark module that uses hex crawling rules pretty heavily. And so when it came out, we immediately were like, well, let's figure out the new hex crawling stuff, which not a ton changed, if I'm being totally honest. But I think it was a good framework for us to build off of. But in terms of the player stuff, player-facing stuff, and the adventure stuff, I did only the most cursory of scans of it. So yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I did another video not long ago where people were giving me a hard time because I was mentioning that the Cursed Scrolls, you really need them to fill in a lot of things that Kelsey and the team could not get into, could not just fit in here. Everything does not fit in here, right? This is like Brian DM Cloaker said it on Friday night on the second watch. This is a chassis, and it's a damn good chassis. It's simple, it's clean, it's quick to learn. And the thing I love about it is I can co-create with it. And for GM, this is all I need to I could never I could co-create when I was running 5e. I could write for it and all that. But then we get into a game and I had to look up some esoteric, multi-class feat thing that is pages long for one type of care. I could never remember all that. It was just too much. Doesn't make it a bad game. I mean, it's still a good system and all that. It was just too much for me. So
I think my opinions about 5e have evolved. It's funny, we're talking about like you don't go into games very often with strangers. And I think most people have that experience. There's plenty of people who have to, right? They just don't have an option. And so I work with YVR DM out here in Vancouver, and they do literally like introduction games where they will have people show up who have never played but want to, and they'll have DMs like myself and others who will run games for not just a new group of people, but a new group of people who have never played before. And so you want to talk about, finding out at the table and getting to meet all the color of people, because it's a lot of different wild, variety of people, getting them all to sit down at the table and have a good time together. But even then, I think, that's maybe the most important place to be that kind of example and steward of the social contract, and being like showing up with the right attitude and the right excitement and getting everybody on board with how you're going to negotiate the game you're going to have, right? Because you're right. It's all, everything's a negotiation. Everything's kind of a compromise. Everything is, this is what I'm trying to do. Okay, this is the risk you're taking. This is the role you're going to have to make. This is how we resolve it. Right. That's the conversation. That's the game. So getting people on board with that is, it's a good exercise.
I love that idea, but it kind of terrifies me at the same time. I love the idea of helping bring new people into the game. I don't mean just Shadowdark or whatever I would run. I don't know that I could do that on a regular basis for a lot of folks I don't know, and I don't think I would want to. But if I was at a con or something, I may get to a point where I'll volunteer. I'll run a couple of sessions of something. I always like running a game, but on the other side, I feel like George Costanza on Seinfeld, where he was talking about being somebody's first. I don't want to be somebody's first. They always remember their first, right?
It's never good.
I don't want to be the first. I want to be forgotten. I want to be, I don't want to be remembered.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's super fair. And yeah, there was a certain amount of trepidation. Luckily, I think they've only been doing the events once a month. So I've only really had to do that like once a month specifically. But I will also pretty regularly jump into a game of strangers just to run something that I don't necessarily want to expose my friends to first. So, I'll be like, hey, you guys are my guinea pigs. This is what we're doing. Let's all try and have a good time.
Right.
But I I think the exercise and experience of trying with different people and kind of doing these different ranges of things, it's taught me a lot. It's taught me a lot about like, how do you present a game to new players? Like 5e is a hard game to present to new players, right? Yeah, like you said, there's so much. And Shadowdark is a much easier game to present to new players. I ran a game for some kids at a local con, ttrpg Kids Con, that actually a friend of mine is putting on again in November. And I was running a Shadowdark for like a 9, 10, and 11-year-old. And I ran that. I actually ran Caves of the Slumbering Crawler, and it was a blast. And we had so much fun. And the kids absolutely just picked it right up. They were like, "Oh, I totally get what's happening here." And I was like, I could not have done that with 5.
They got past the centipedes and got all the way around.
Yeah, they actually did really, really well. They got out of the illusion like super fast at the beginning. As soon, like very quickly, they were like, "Well, this seems unreal. This can't be happening."
Yeah.
But they were trying stuff that was very, like, I cast Fireball. Well, you don't know Fireball,
Yeah.
but you cast it anyway, and it fills the room with fire, but it doesn't seem to hurt. So immediately, right, they were just like, "Oh, something's up here," right? As opposed to like, I go grab a beer. Well, it's very likely that you had a beer.
Yeah.
So
I do want to play a Shadowdark game one day in the future where there is no mushrooms, there's no frogs, there's no crabs.
Good luck.
and there's no, what's another one that always pops into one of the games? Slime. You had slime, right? There's always some sort of slime ectoplasm kind of idea somewhere in there.
The Cult of the Slime Lords or something.
Did you play you played the Muggle-Blub?
I haven't. I've been wanting to play Cursed Scroll 1 for a while, and I haven't had a chance to. I've run Cursed Scroll 2 and 3.
Yeah.
I have only played, I think, part of Cursed Scroll 3. So I did like the Seawolves guy. I just joined a West Marches Shadowdark group. I think my first game's going to be the 27th? 20th? One of these days.
Yeah, I'm playing a Seawolf right now myself in our Monday night game, and I'm reading 2 different Viking books. Evangeline Walton was a writer, a female writer of sci-fi fantasy in the 40s, 50s, 60s. I think she died in the late 80s, but she wrote a book called Dark Runs the Road. The publisher chewed it up, got rid of about 30% of it without her approval, and they've just re-released it. There's not as much magic or monsters and things, but if you want to know what it's like to be a young 15-year-old on a ship full of Viking men with your father and the Jarl and sailing from the Orkney Isles, all over the place, or from Norway, and it's great. It's great. I forgot the other name. The other one's an audio book I'm listening to, so I'm up to my nose right now in Viking stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah, and that Northman movie, let's be honest, that Northman movie is just awesome. I mean, that thing.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, go watch that. Go have a couple of beers first and maybe a few shots or something just to get
don't drink.
Well, I won't make any other mushrooms.
It's fine. Yeah, maybe
mushrooms, slime,
just smoke some crack before I go.
Well, you don't have to, but they sure seem to be tripping. If I'm not mistaken, I think Willem Dafoe, makes an appearance in that movie as like the shaman or the skald, and they're doing one of these ceremonies. I won't.
He's listed here.
No spoiler stuff, but yeah.
Put that
on your. Awesome. Now, knowing what I know about your partner, she will not appreciate this film, and neither did my wife. Didn't really care for it too much either because it is gritty and violent. But
check it out.
Good for Viking stuff.
Yeah, it's funny. So I took a break from D&D in my 30s. I was married briefly, and she wouldn't literally dig me playing video games or D&D or whatever. It was considered a waste of time. And so when I finally got divorced, I was like, okay, I can do what I want now.
Well, you were a waste of time, not D&D.
Totally. And so like coming back into it in like, I think 2015, 2014 was kind of my re-emergence in, and I ended up running a game in like 2018, I think, for some friends of mine that I called Road to Valhalla. It was kind of a fluke. I was just like, I want to run a Viking game. You guys are going to play a bunch of Vikings on a boat, going off to raid somewhere. And it was one of 3 kind of prompts that I would just give people, like, these are my prompts this week, and then they'd pick one. They'd all vote, and then I would run that game for them, and then we'd see if we wanted to keep going. And so I did one called Road to Valhalla, and the pitch to them was you're all Vikings on a boat going to raid something, but in my mind I knew, and you die at the end because it's the Road to Valhalla, like that's where you're going. And so so we ran it, and it went amazing. It was actually probably one of the most fun, because we did character creation at the beginning, and so we got to like get everybody to kind of intertwine who they were in the village, what their relationships were with each other, what they called each other to their faces, and what they would call each other behind their backs. Like, we just had these really great little kind of parts of the ritual for setup that were awesome. And then they go up, and then I'm like, okay, now you're 2 weeks out at sea. You're on a boat, and you're on your way to this place to go raid, and things start going wrong. And so they, are dealing with all this stuff. And in the end, they end up going up basically against the world dragon, Jormungandr, and he eats them. And like at the end of the session, they were all like, well, okay, like, well, we wanted to play more. And I was like, oh yeah, no problem, you guys want to play more, like, just come back next week and we'll just keep going. And they were like, but we're all dead. And I was like, yeah, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
We'll do it. So they come back, and I ran the rest of the campaign as them being in the mythic Norse afterlife. And so their objective at that point was to return to Midgard and like kind of unseat it was the uncle of the noble who had kind of betrayed them and gotten them all killed. And so it was awesome. The campaign was amazing because they got to explore. Went down into Helheim, and they got to go into Niflheim and Speltalfheim, and like all these cool, like just mythic Norse places. And I got to explore all that, and it was, man, Viking awesome.
Yeah, I will say we only played that gauntlet, but I could tell right away that you were very experienced, really good GM, because you had not only a firm grasp of the game, but you were really good at painting a picture. And I think that's the number one thing that a really good GM does, is they paint that picture, that hook in the beginning right away, and get you into the theme and let you kind of experience the world. And you almost, if in the first 10 minutes you feel comfortable and you don't have big, broad questions about where are we or what's going on, you don't feel lost, and you kind of understand that, oh, I'm in this kind of place or that kind of place, and here's the good guys, here's the bad guys, and you understand all that. And it's done in a colorful, fun, exciting way. Well, then you got somebody who knows what they're doing, and that's to me, that's the first challenge.
Yeah. I'd love to play in one of your games sometime. So let me know if you're ever running something, and I'll come throw some dice.
You can. I'll just tell you now, I cheat, but you're welcome to complain. No, I'm kidding. How would I?
That's the other part of a great DM.
Yeah. How would I cheat? If I did cheat, I guess it would be cheating and getting letting one of the players live when they probably should have died, because I'm too lazy to stop and re-roll a character. No, you're fine. You're fine.
Fudging the dice.
2 more turns. Yeah, 2 more turns.
God, but what a revelation though, with Shadowdark coming like with the quick character creation.
Yeah,
being able to say like, oh, you're dead, roll a new one, and have them come in 2 seconds later. Oh,
yeah, you could almost do that page with the created in NPC and cheat and just go. I mean, no, we're not seriously cheating, but go to that NPC page and do one of those real quickly, just to have a character to keep going. You could fill in the rest later. Did you say you watched that video I did with Tim Shorts on duets?
Yeah, I watched a good part of it. Yeah,
that all came about because some of the guys were telling me about. He did this a few years ago, and I'm sure he's not the only one. I know he's not the only one, but I just never thought of this or never heard of it. But wow, what a great idea! He had started off a new campaign by doing a duet session with each one of the players.
I've done that before.
Yeah, well, see, you've done it before. Again, I was out of the game for 30-something years. I've only gotten back into going on 3 years ago, and I'm like, so I haven't heard all these things, but I'm like, what a brilliant idea. And I do like solo dark. I do like solo games. So I'm like, well, this could be really fun, that way, because one of my things was the backstory. I agree with the people who criticize 5e for a phony fake backstory and spending too much time writing up a big backstory, and then you don't want to get that character killed because you spend a whole weekend writing up something that, is supposedly happened. But instead, creating a real backstory and developing some authenticity and getting to know the setting you're starting in, and having some experiences and maybe some rivals and allies and things for your character sheet. And also, it's a great way, I think, for a new player, because they don't have that embarrassment of having to get up and play act in front of 6 other people or even 3 other people. They can do it one-on-one with the GM, and they learn how to engage with the GM. I hadn't thought about it deeply until I started doing that video, and I'm like, it just makes so much sense on a lot of different levels. Maybe not for experienced players, but even experienced players would enjoy jumping into it. Hey, man, you're the star of this show. You're it.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to have a hireling, you're going to have a sidekick, or is it just you? Here's the setting. Let's go. And then you play one-on-one. Tell me about your experience with that.
Yeah, so it's wild, actually. It's wild that you bring that up, because I did that back when I was like 19. So this is like 26 years ago.
Wow.
I was running a lot of games at the time. It was at a place called Enchanted Grounds, which is like a gaming cafe in Colorado. And I had this big vision that I was going to run this amazing campaign called Cloning of a God. And I was like, I'm going to ask for applications. People have to apply to play. I'm going to do a duet session interview that's going to kind of get them prepped and into the game. So you're going to have character creation, and then we're going to run some of that. So you're like primed for entry into the inciting moment. So I had my in media res like kind of planned, and then I was landing all these characters at this in media res moment. And then I ran it, and it was a table of 13 people. And I ran it for like 3 sessions before I was just like, rocks fall, everyone dies, I can't do this. Because I was like, I had overloaded ambition, you know, I was young, I was hubris, I was proud, it was ridiculous. But I remember the best part of it was actually those duet kind of interview sessions, because we could get into what, you know, who their character was, what they were there for, what they really cared about, and then I could threaten that. If I'm being honest.
Sam, you know, I didn't think about it when we made the video with him. Right up until the last second, I hadn't even dawned on me that that's probably where I really started with the game. When I first started playing as a whatever 6th grader, 7th grader, something like that, and 70 whatever it was. You know, we had 4 guys. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 brothers. They probably had 4 guys in the neighborhood, and other boys would come by and jump in a game or two. And then later in college, I was playing with my brother-in-law and my sister and other folks. But day to day, in maybe 7th, 8th grade or so, when we were playing, it was a duet game. It was me and my buddy Jay. We'd get off the school bus, and if it wasn't football season or after school, something going on, head straight up to the room. You know, I'd play with you see the drum set back there, wherever it is. I'd play on my drum set then a little bit. We'd fool around. Okay, let's play. And where did we leave off? And it was usually the other guys couldn't make it. It was just the 2 of us. So we played like that all the time. And I can't remember if he played more. I think he did play more than 1 character.
Yeah, that's common.
Yeah, but you could do it with just 1. I guess it really depends. I don't know. Maybe that's worth exploring in another video. Is, you know, how many players can you place? I mean, I'm doing solo dark, and my group's swelled up to like 5 characters.
Yeah, I think with Shadowdark, it works pretty well to have multiple characters, because they're kind of easy to manage. Like, the individual characters tend to be pretty straightforward. Alicia and I actually ran, I think 27 or 28 sessions of Solo Dark duet style, where we were kind of, you know, playing the characters together. Basically, I was doing the paperwork, she was rolling the dice. And I think those are all up on my Patreon, like on the free tier or whatever. We have them recorded, because I wanted to, like, you know, just go through that exercise and see what it was like with Solo Dark, because it had just come out. And we ended up with a group of, I think, 4 or 5 in each party. We actually had 2 kind of competing crawler parties. One was the lawful party, and one was the chaotic party. We swapped between them on relevant scenes. It was a lot of fun. It was a really
I'm curious, were you using the Solo Dark Oracle and the prompts?
Yeah, by and large, I think we did the generation of the world using a combination of the Shadowdark core book and the sandbox generator, which I've used. Actually, I did a bunch of tutorial videos on that on my channel. It's a really cool resource. good
I've got to
supplement.
go to school. I've got to go through your old videos and see what I can learn. It looks like there's a lot of really good stuff in there.
It's stupid. I've been making videos, like I said, for like 4 years now.
Yeah.
And I didn't do this. Like I don't know, talk to people. Like I'm just barely trying to make something useful that somebody might look at someday. So like I did all my adventure guides. And then I was like, well, I'm going to start using Sandbox Generator. So maybe it'll help me to understand it better if I make a video about using it. And so that was kind of the tutorials for that. And then I got the Tome of Adventure Design. I don't know if you've seen that monster.
Yeah.
But it's huge. And I was like, I am never going to open this thing if I don't force myself to go through some process of discovering what's inside. And so I made the tutorial series for that. So
I think it's a great.
That's kind of where all the videos came from.
But you and I were saying before we started recording that, you've published a lot of stuff and done a lot of work, and you're pretty well known in the. I mean, I say we're well known. I kind of feel like we're well known by some people, and then at the same time, we're in a little echo chamber
tiny
of a niche game within a niche and a niche. But it's all good stuff. People who enjoy talking about Shadowdark and gaming hopefully find our channels and talk to us. Tell us a little more about your background, though, and also about your website, where they can go find that stuff. And I don't know if you're doing Patreon or not. I don't remember.
Yeah, so because I've been doing it for like 4 years, I kind of have all the little things, but they're all in various states of, I don't know, like kind of made, kind of not. But yeah, I'm Watcher DM. Gabriel Watcher is kind of my moniker for the stuff that I make. We've been making 5th edition. We started making 5th edition content back in like 2021. We started publishing. Most of that stuff is pretty bad, where I'm actually going through the process of kind of replacing a bunch of it and bringing it up to date. And yeah, since then we've made like I said, I think 60 or 65 different things. Sometimes they're full adventures, sometimes they're whole games, sometimes they're just like a room for a dungeon or a class for Troika. Like, so it's kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
I've been running a YouTube channel, so that's you can get all of our games and stuff at watcherdm.com. That's kind of the main hub. Of course, I'm Watcher DM on YouTube, so if you want YouTube content, that stuff is there. And then the Patreon is patreon.com/WatcherDM. So I'm pretty much Watcher DM everywhere. You won't find me on any Meta platform or X platform. I avoid fascists at pretty high velocities. And yeah, I've been playing and running D&D for 35 years, 34 years. Off and on. Obviously, I think I said I was married for a while and wasn't allowed
cut into your game time.
Yeah. But yeah, I've played a lot of different stuff. So back when I was younger, it was, I think I started with Recon. It was a Vietnam vet.
I had Recon.
Recon was dope, man. I was so
I could never find people to play it with me, but I loved reading that book, and I was like, oh, if I ever get to play this game.
We should play it sometime.
Yeah,
I still have like only ever played it by myself. I soloed it back in the day because I couldn't find anybody to play with.
Yeah.
Once and Future King is another one that I think it was like a Rift or Palladium or something. Once and Future King, it was like a cyber King Arthur game that I had like way back, kind of before I found out what D&D was or like got into it. And then it was like AD&D 2nd edition for years and years. And then as soon as, I kind of started branching out from that, I was doing a lot of Cyberpunk, Shadowrun. So I just kind of was like, oh, this is great. I want to do this all the time. And now, of course, I'm back in it and I'm publishing stuff and I just make stuff for whatever I want. And so that's been a lot. We've made a bunch of Troika stuff. We've made a bunch of 5e stuff. We've made a few things for Shadowdark. I've got more Shadowdark on the horizon. And I've made one Mothership thing.
Yeah, I've never played Mothership. I would love to. I've heard it's a lot of fun. I've heard Aliens is great. I've heard Blade Runner is great. The problem with Aliens, though, the knock is, of course, you know what the bad thing is, and you know how it thinks and what it does, and you're always going to. It's in other words, they say you're always going to end up in the same place with Aliens. Unfortunately, either you get away or you don't get. Well, I really don't know. I haven't played it. But I could see where when you have one villain or one baddie, and the baddie is the same kind of thing. And
I don't know. I think that would be part of the fun, right? Is like subverting that expectation. Like as the GM for an Alien game, I could imagine. I think the biggest monster in the Alien franchise is the Corporation, right? The way that it's presented, it's really the ineptitude and kind of cowardice of man
It's
that
Starbucks.
drives most of the badness in that series. And so, yeah, I think, I would just have really villainous people, and like occasionally there's a monster that eats them. But
well, and that's a great point. I mean, really, in all seriousness, we'd probably rely on our creativity. Can you create something better than just what you expect from the movie, where you're going to wind up running from the alien monster on a spaceship leaking acid all over the place? You would expect that, but coming up with unique twists and expansions and ideas, which kind of brings us back to Shadowdark. We're cool. We're only at 40 minutes. So we had a discussion first. I told you I've got some friends who do this regular Friday night show called The Second Watch. Lord Mattias, Gary Lewis, DM Cloaker, and then they'll have various guests on. Chubby Funster, Alex McCrease, whoever it might be. Different gaming folks, and most of the time they're really philosophical arguments. But Friday night they popped up a topic, and I would never criticize these guys. They're all really good guys, but I'll offer a little critique, I guess, and that, to me at least, their topic was Shadowdark. Where is it? Are we over it? Or we still like it? Or what? It felt like they were like, hey, we need a topic for Friday night. I don't know. Let's talk about whether we want to criticize Shadowdark or not. And then going one step further, one of my friends on the show felt like he took the, yes, I'm tired of this, I'm exhausted with it side, and the other guys were pro. So it was interesting. It was interesting in the critiques that he came into for Shadowdark, where one I could understand. One was just basic. Hey, I'm tired of hearing about this. It's on every video and every this and everything. The other guys were like, well, that's because it's a very popular game, and that's because it's very easy entry point, and that's because it's not as complex and bloated as 5e, and that's because it's easy for you to co-create. They just kept going on and on. And he's like, he couldn't really argue. He said it is really a great game. It's a good game. It's not my favorite game by a long shot, but he said, hey, he would play it again, but he was just trying to dig in, and he hit a couple of the common raw nerve endings I have for people that, not that I'm some big defender of Shadowdark. It's, Kelsey and her team are big folks. They can stand on their own 2 feet. They don't need me. But there are a couple of tropes, a couple of common knocks, and I want to hear if you agree or not. And maybe you've heard other ones, but one I've heard is that, people who are doing a quick, sometimes they're like a backhanded compliment. Oh, it's a really great game. It's a nice dungeon delver. It's only a dungeon delver is one. Number two, it's got this clever thing to add pressure and time and all that in the torch timer. And then the third one is might be that it's not a complete game. It's just kind of a starter, and you're only going to play in a dungeon, and it's just easier. Why wouldn't I just play? Or some people give the backhanded compliment. Oh, it's a great entry point to train someone how to play D&D. Like you're going to play Shadowdark and then go, oh, now give me the real complex stuff. Not that you couldn't, you would understand. But, if you're a GM or a DM explaining the game to people, Gabriel, I feel like take the rules out of it. The two games are going to feel similar.
They're the same game. In that regard, they are the same game. And I said it earlier, right? Where it's the negotiation game.
The mechanics are different.
Say, I want to do something.
Yeah.
Right. But like at the end of the day, you're going to say, I want to try and do something in this imagined world. The DM is going to say, well, this is the risk you're taking to do it. This is the challenge. Roll dice, maybe. And then I'll resolve how it comes out. And that's the game loop for all role-playing games at some level. Now, I think some of the things that you're saying, like that people will level as criticisms, aren't criticisms, right? They're just kind of truths that are like a one side of a supposed juxtaposition. So saying it's a good dungeon crawler, it's a good game, it's a good dungeon crawler, doesn't actually imply that it's not good at other things. It just says it's really good at dungeon crawler, which it is. I think unarguably, right? The always on initiative, the torch timer are really good innovations for dungeon delving. Those innovations are also notably kind of missing from the other parts of the game. So they're not going to benefit from those innovations. So can you do hex crawling and stuff with Shadowdark? Absolutely. I've done it all the time. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Can you do social, complex mystery games with Shadowdark? Absolutely. I've done it all the time. But what is it like to do that in Shadowdark? It's basically the same as you would expect it to be if you were running Lamentations of the Flame Princess or Old School Essentials or 5th edition. The tools that you bring to bear to do it are going to be, well, I mean, they're OSR, so it'd be less like 5th edition, unless you're playing 5th edition with an OSR bent. But like the tools you have to do those types of things within the game are just like everyone else's tools. You're going to talk about it and try and figure out a resolution.
Yeah.
You know, as opposed to like MCDM, which is doing a way different, like, you know, what is it? Draw Steel has like a negotiation system. You know, there's a social system, which cool. Like, if that's what you want to do, that sounds interesting. It sounds maybe not for me. I haven't tried it yet. So I think those are some of my takes on that. Now, one thing I will say is the torch timer, I think, gets a bad rap as a gimmick. And also, it seems to be implied that it was invented with Shadowdark. It certainly wasn't. We've been using real-time timers in RPGs for as long as we have had time to run out of. Like, yeah. You can look back at something. I was literally prepping this. I'm prepping for A4. I'm running A4 like in a couple of weeks for my party. And right in here, it talks about how the timer is supposed to work for when the volcano erupts and you get the tremors and stuff. And it says it happens at 40 minutes of game time, then 35, then 30, and it goes down from there. And that's real time. So real time timers are as old as the game.
Yeah.
The fact that it's tied to an in-game component like torches works. The idea that you can use that for any kind of timer you want is also kind of cool. So in I ran Red Sands a couple months ago. So it's the Cursed Scroll 2 Red Sands campaign. And I wanted, it's outdoor. I think they were in the Echoes, which is like that cavernous area. And I was like, I want a torch timer-like thing that is the opposite of a torch timer. So when I rolled a certain encounter, I kicked off a sandstorm, and the sandstorm lasted for an hour of real time. And so it was like a reverse torch timer. While this is going on, everybody has disadvantage. You can't see, it's obscured. There's all that stuff going on. And they were kind of watching the clock, waiting for this sandstorm to die down. So it's pretty cool. And I think the flexibility to use that within your game and say things like, well, this effect is going to keep going for 10 minutes of real time, that's a genius innovation. That's an offering.
Yeah, I think the game gets I think the game gets some unfair criticism for some of the things it's known for, which were cool innovations. But I understand that the first book, and everything's in one book. I don't need 3 books. Everything's in one book. But there's lots of great third-party content for it and expansions. And then there's all the Cursed Scrolls, which introduce new settings and new ideas and new classes and new spells and so forth. But I think, I think Kelsey made a decision that focusing on dungeon delving would be a smart thing. That is the essential core of the initial game, or the genre even is. Now, does that mean we spend all of our time down there? No. Obviously, the next Cursed Scroll is City of Masks. We just did a dungeon delve. We have a desert setting. We have a Viking island hopping setting. So all those things are growing and expanding the game. And then I think the biggest opportunity of all is for you as a GM to co-create. If you don't want to use Terra Invictus from Chubby or Femoria or something, it is really easy. You can use OSE content. You could use D&D content. You could use Gods of the Forbidden North. There's
all that stuff is so interchangeable.
I don't understand GMs who come to this because I'm not like this, and I don't want to say this in a way that sounds too judgmental about other people, but it's a little judgmental. Use your imagination. Use your imagination. You do not have to go buy. This isn't 1982. You do not have to go to Walden Books and go find the $7 module and buy it off the shelf and then play it exactly the way it's written. And I realize a lot of us bought them and we didn't. I didn't care for most of the modules. They were okay. I bet you I didn't have more than 5 of the modules all in all, from 78 through about 86.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't. So I never used modules
Me
until.
neither. I always liked writing my, and I'm not unique. You're not unique. I'm sure most of us probably were doing that, or they would have sold
If,
a whole lot more modules. But
if I can be honest, I was broke. I was a
well,
kid.
that
I
too,
was
yeah. Who had
broke. Like,
extra? Yeah, who had extra
yeah.
cash laying around to go buy a bunch of games? I was glad I had the books, and I think
Or
that
minis,
was
right? Like
present.
who had money for minis in the 80s?
Yeah,
Because it wasn't
I
me.
never did minis. Although in the '90s, I made up for it by painting about 7,000 6mm Napoleonic, French, Austrian, some Spanish,
You
some
know,
Russian.
there is
Yeah.
something every DM should buy though, and I see it on your book on your table behind you. You've got all 5 issues of Knock stacked there, if
No,
I'm
boy,
not mistaken.
your eyes are good, man.
Yeah, dude.
Oh yeah,
That's
right there.
awesome. I also have Knock over here. And I've got to say, first of all, just a shout out to the Merry Mushmen for putting together probably the coolest damn
Love those
resource
guys,
OSR
man. Their
ever.
stuff is
So good.
just so cool. Yeah, the where am I? Oh, the knock books. Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are, if you haven't heard of them, Mary Mushman in France write these. They're put together by GMs and DMs. Nice artwork, but all kinds of creative stuff and articles on how to become a better GM. Some of them are OSR philosophical articles about how we run games and how we design games. Others are just random tables about some off the wall stuff, which is
So
great.
I actually have a criticism about the Knock magazines. Amazing as they are.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to be able to use them. There's so much stuff across so many things that finding the thing when I need it seems impossible. So one of the things I'm going to be doing on my YouTube channel over the next couple of months is I'm going to go and stream me tagging each of the articles from Knock.
That's brilliant.
With usable crap, and then I'm going to make it a tool that you can get online, so people can just search, oh, I need goblin magic, and like find all the articles that have goblin and magic in them. Because I want to use it, and I'm desperate to use it, so I'm going to do the work.
And I just like these guys. I'll admit, I got the first one, and I had 3. I ordered the whatever the Kickstarter was. It was Knock number 5, which I think this is 5. Okay, that's 5 there. And I got this one, and I said, you know what? Give me all the books in print. I want them all in print because I had PDFs. So I got all the books, and the first shipment came, and I had 2 or 3 books. Great. And they said there'll be another one here in another week or 2.
Yeah, the broken envelopes.
It was an empty envelope.
Yep.
Nothing in it.
Same happened to me.
Did it really?
Yeah, both of them actually. So I had Knock 5 came, and then both of my second envelopes were empty.
And then what's his name? Olivier wrote me back, emailed me back, and he said, "Don't worry about it. We'll put it in the mail. We'll get it to you." And they did, and it was like,
yeah, they resent them. Yeah, I think they just had bad glue on the boxes, and they didn't double tape them. So sad, because I can't imagine that must have happened to almost everyone. That means all those books are just spoilage for that, which is terrible. Yeah. They should have been selling those books. They're awesome. More people should have those books to read them. When I first got it, I was like, well, somebody stole them. There's a Merry Mushman stamp. I would steal it if I was that guy.
Yeah, and if you watch videos or you follow people on YouTube or whatever, or you're kind of been around the hobby for a while, you'll recognize some of the folks who write these articles. They get a sampling of voices. It's not just from Merry Mushman. They write and they create for it, but they have people all over the hobby.
Yeah, one of my favorite artists actually is featured pretty prominently in a lot of them. Evelyn Moreau is a Canadian artist.
Okay.
And actually, I just commissioned her for a bunch of work for our Shadowdark adventure that we're coming out with in 2026 called Long Bear Valley. We're doing a Shadowdark version of our 5e pamphlet adventure, but kind of expanding it. That's that one I was talking about, where it uses the hex crawling rules that we're getting out of Cursed Scroll 4. So, yeah, Evelyn Moreau did the interior of the sleeve of, I think, the newest one. So it's the one with the little woodland folk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's all her art. But you'll see her art everywhere in those things once you kind of recognize it.
Yeah, the name is very familiar.
She's done so much stuff. Yeah, she's done so much stuff in the RPG space and just been such a solid creator. I always feel like she doesn't get enough props for everything she does, because she's making games, she's making art, She's putting art out there for other creators to use. She's playtesting other people's stuff. She's hyping other people's games. Just
those are the kind of people
work.
that really keep that. They don't get enough credit, and they really push the hobby forward. They're not. You don't hear about them a lot. A guy like Zach Goins with RPG Ramblings, he does work with them, but he did the Devoured Labyrinth, and he wrote. I think he wrote for Pirate Borg. He's done a lot of things, and just a great guy. I interviewed him early when I started the channel, and I need to get back to him. But they've written a lot of Shadowdark stuff, like the Tower of Six. And
was he involved in the Raptor Rampage game?
I think so.
Yeah, I thought it was like a couple of Zachs on that project. I was
yeah,
like, oh, that's cool.
He writes very often with another Zach.
Yeah.
And I'm probably not telling you everything he's worked on here just because I wasn't prepared. But apologies, Zach. Yeah, he's a great guy. I'd like to go back and interview him again. In fact, I did their Kickstarter for the Devoured Labyrinth, and I'm waiting for that. But there's just so much good Shadowdark stuff. There's more stuff than you can play, and then we play our Monday night games, and we're playing our own writing and our own homebrew dungeons and things. I'm like, we could go play other stuff, but
well, I think that comes back to, like, so as a creator, right? Obviously, I want people to use the stuff that I create. I think that's why I'm creating it, right? Is I want people to play it. But that also comes up against the reality that I buy a bunch of stuff that I'm never going to run, right? Right, and I have to acknowledge that there's a couple of things going on there. One of them is reading is playing as a DM.
Yep.
If you are reading and absorbing something from a piece that you bought, even if it never hits the table, you're cooking that stuff in your little meat computer, and you're coming up with new stuff that's going to integrate some of those ideas. And that's awesome. That's play. That's worth it.
I agree completely.
Yep. Right? So keep buying them. Please buy mine. Also buy Erudites, buy Mike's.
Hey, tell them where you guys can find me at eruditedm.com. And all I've written so far legitimately is 2 zines. Each one's about 50 pages, has a one shot in it.
They're awesome.
I like to do different stuff for Shadowdark, right? There's a lot of things that are in one flavor that have been done already. So I explored war horses and jousting and more about knights and that type of setting, that traditional kind of setting. And then I did one on saints because I really like the saints ideas, Taragnus and so forth within the original books. And I'm like, I'm going to play with this idea and put in some medieval influences and so forth. And I'm working on other ones right now. But Watcher's written apparently for years. Tell them about your website and what they would expect to find there, please.
Yeah, so watcherdm.com right now, I think the kind of top level stuff that we have is Doom Desert and the Decanter of Delirium, which is our Kickstarter from last year. It's a 5e zine. It's a psychedelic romp kind of OSR style thing. It's written by Austin Holm. I did some of the art. We also got art from Maya Babino. So that's a zine you can pick up. It's just an adventure, so it's not like a bunch of extra stuff. And then Seven Sealed Spirits is the other kind of top level thing. I can see you are not subscribed. You should totally subscribe. Click the dismiss button up there, I think, if you want to get to the close. There you go.
It's a nice purple, though.
Yeah, thanks. And then, so there's, that's kind of our top line of stuff. And then we've got a bunch of blog posts. So we post blog posts every week on Wednesday. A lot of it's very usable. So there's going to be, tables in there for different things. We've done some Shadowdark creature building stuff. We've done some classes for Lamentations, all just as blog posts. And then on the right there is the Privatized Hell Kickstarter. So that's what's going on right now. And then, you can go obviously into the adventures and games at the top will take you to kind of the full catalog of products. So if you scroll to the top and hit adventures and games in the middle there, you'll see all the stuff that we've made over the years, and it just kind of goes on and on. A bunch of
incredible. There's Cave of the Slumbering Crawlers. That was a fun draw. I mean, for $2.
It's a PDF.
Yeah.
And it's pretty short. Tower of the Spectral Sorceress, though, is like 16 pages. Also for Shadowdark, a lot of fun. Barrow of the Raging Storm is written with the Cursed Scroll 3 in mind. So that was one I made myself. Also, pretty expanded
Let's go
content
there.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, this is very slick.
Thanks. And yeah, like I said, pages and pages of this stuff. We've been making all kinds of weird
Yeah,
stuff
guys,
for a
do
long
yourself
time.
a favor. Go check this out. Go check this out. Watch,
Thanks.
it's got some cool stuff on here, and I think he and I are hopefully going to talk some more and do different things. We'll probably, well, I don't know. I don't want to commit to anything. I know we both need to look at River of Night a little closer.
Yeah.
I don't want to share any opinions yet because really I just glanced through it.
Well,
And I don't really want to. Everybody, there's lots of good channels that do flip throughs. There's Dungeons and Dyslexia, Fox of RPG, Red Mage, GM. It goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
So I don't feel the need to sit here and let me do a flip through and show you what you get with it. I'd rather talk about it in a deeper level and pick some aspects of it that are fun to
Yeah.
to
So
analyze.
it's funny. I do flip through reviews as well, but I have a thing where I will only do a flip through and review if I have actually played or used the thing.
Yeah.
And that apparently is pretty rare.
I think I saw you say that on a video, and I thought,
yeah,
that is refreshing because, right, I can flip through and have some topical feedback for you. I like that, I don't like that, but that doesn't really mean a whole lot until you've actually played through it and dug through it and presented it to your players, right?
yeah. And I think what has surprised me the most actually is how many of the creators will reach out to me after seeing one of my flip through reviews and thank me, first of all, for playing it, running it, using it, and doing the review, but also tell me that my insights and my feedback were useful for them in understanding how it's used at the table and how they can present things better for use. Because I'll call it out if I don't end up using a part of the game because it just kind of doesn't show up because my players kind of blow past it or it doesn't hit in some way. That's useful for them to understand, okay, maybe if I want people to really engage with this, I need to make it more prominent, or my language around this maybe needs to be more structured, or maybe Gabriel's an idiot and just ran it wrong, which I've done.
I'm
for
pretty sure
sure
that's not the case.
No, I've definitely done it. It was one at Basilisk. I felt like an asshole because I did the Basilisk and the guy sent it to me, Gabriel Walden, a great creator, really, really cool guy. He sends me this book and I try running it. And it's predicated on the idea of Rocco's Basilisk, which is kind of a heady concept. It's a weird thought experiment that involves a very distant future bad thing. And I couldn't get my players to feel like that was a real threat. And so the tension in the whole game just wasn't there. It was weird. There was some exploration and they interacted with everything that was there, but they never felt like they were really being threatened in any way.
Mm-hmm.
And so they just went along with the Basilisk's plans, which means that in the universe in which they are playing, eventually a bunch of people are tortured for eternity because they didn't help bring the Basilisk to be. But that's not a tangible, usable thing for a player in a 3-hour session.
Yeah.
So I said that, and I was like, there's some cool ideas there. It's really fun, but we missed it somehow. We missed the part of this that was supposed to bring tension to it. And to his credit, Gabriel was really, really cool and was just like, yeah, put it up. Thanks for the feedback. Not everything's going to hit with every group. And gave him a lot to think about in terms of his next thing and how he's going to improve, making sure that there's a clear tension, clear active moment of conflict.
Yeah, I'm just learning something you've probably known for years with people buying your works and then giving you feedback on them. But the 2 zines I did, I enjoyed so much watching other people not do the flip through reviews. That was nice, but the ones who dug into it, played it, and then started kind of adding their own creations to it and saying, here's what I would do with this.
Yeah.
And how they interpreted what I wrote, which was like, oh crap, I didn't even think of it from that angle, So to me, it was just so enjoyable to watch what other people did with it and how they took it and how they played it and added into their own games.
Yeah.
And that's really believe it or not, it's not the few dollars you get for a piece here and there that helps pay the internet bill or whatever, but or buy some more books at the next con. but it really is worth it for, especially with Shadowdark, but it's true in other games too. I know DCC has a brilliant community, a lot of people who love that game and they create together and do that. But there's a lot of games like that. Thank goodness.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the community is the community, right? I feel like the idea that there's a DCC community and a Shadowdark community is a little disingenuous, because they're really just a bunch of people who like games and happened to use the DCC rule set or the Shadowdark rule set when they're making stuff. But like, you could get those people in the same room and start talking about stuff and be sharing ideas and cross-pollinating all that. So yeah, I think we're super lucky to be in the hobby that we're in and in the community that we're in. And fostering more of that community, fostering more of that communication is the best thing you can do, in my opinion, with your time. But, and you said this, right? The caveat is nobody got into role-playing games for the money. So
yeah, if that was your choice, you really picked the wrong.
Exactly, right? Like, I hope if you are creating stuff for role-playing games, you are doing it with the full understanding that you will spend more money than you make most of the time.
It is, yeah.
But you'll be lucky to create something that people really love. And I think, my guiding light for all this stuff has been that in 20 years, I want some nerd to be like, I ran this I played this Watcher DM thing when I was a kid. It's a classic. I'm going to run it for my kids' new table, right? And just have it be that thing that they're like, it's their Lost City, or it's their Against the Slave Lords, right? It's their thing that tied them to the game and hooked them in. And like, if I can provide that for one person, then
exciting. Yeah,
I'm good. Like, I have achieved.
It's a big ego stroke. It's a little like, maybe I'll be when I'm dead and gone, I'll be like a Gygax and people will be arguing over what I really meant. Like they're arguing over scripture or something. It's like, the guy was just a gamer. Who was putting these ideas out. He had some great ideas, he and Arneson, but holy cow, this isn't Moses with the tablets coming down the mountain.
Pass on the fame, but I would be stoked to have somebody like, have the kind of experience that makes them go like, yes, this is good, and this is something I want to bring to my friends. And
the mission accomplished. Yeah, mission accomplished. Hey, well, on that note, I think there's so many more things we could talk about, and I appreciate.
Let's do this again.
Yeah, let's do this again. I'm afraid to go too far with too many things because it'll turn into one big blob video of us just rambling about. And it's good rambling. I hope you folks who are watching this enjoy it. By the way, I got to tell you, or ask you, beg you, all the things we always do. Please like my channel. Go like Watcher DM. Go subscribe to his. Subscribe to Erudite DM. Spend some more time with us. And if you like the ideas or you disagree with one of us or both of us, put it in the comments. I love to answer comments. I'm checking my phone all day. You probably are too, Gabriel. When I get those comments, man, I answer back and I enjoy it. Do you know who Desks and Dorks is? He's a history guy, had a medieval history degree, Desks and Dorks.
No, never heard.
He's probably got a good little channel. Talks about a lot of different topics. I say little channel, he's bigger than mine, older than mine. But seems to be a really nice guy. And yesterday I was doing the same thing. I'm getting into the comments and I'm posting pretty long things, and he and I are going back and forth. I love the interaction of talking to other people. You said, reading the books and all that is in prep and all that. That's part of playing the game. So is talking to other people. All this technology gives us different methods to do that nowadays. So use them. If you can engage with people in different ways, you're still playing a game of some sort. And that's a win in my book. So
absolutely. Come hang out. Play with us.
Yep. Check us out. Check us both out. We're going to talk again about some more Shadowdark very soon. So watch for a video. And in the meantime, go play some Shadowdark or other games with your friends.
Throw some dice.
Thank you, Gabriel. Thanks for the time, man. We'll see you soon.
Thanks a lot, Mike. See ya.